Hey guys, so today we're going to talk about grounding your amplifier. Grounding an amplifier is probably one of the things that I see overlooked the most on doing it properly. A lot of people just don't know what to do when they get to the rear of the vehicle. So what I have here is a painted piece of metal which is similar to the thickness of sheet metal and 3 scrap wires with ring connectors on them, and I'm going to show you 3 different ways on how to ground the amplifier. So it's going to go good, better, best. The nice thing about our example piece of metal is it already has holes stamped into it, so we can skip showing that step. We can go straight to the actual connection. So for the first connection, what we're going to do is I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way with some sandpaper, and we're going to take away the paint this way. Now, depending on how well it's painted, this might be more time consuming, so you have to put in some time and really get down to bare metal, because on some vehicles you're going to have a base coat and then you're going to have maybe some primer underneath there. So make sure you really get down to bare metal. So the first example, I'm going to use a self-tapper. So as the name implies, this will actually, you don't have to pre-drill, it will tap right into the sheet metal. I'm not going to use this hole because the hole's a little bit too big. I'm actually going to go right into the metal fresh, just so you can see what it does. Now when I say good, better, best, I'm using the word good very loosely here. This is, if you ground like this, you're kind of like you were a D student in school, honestly. So it's only one screw, it bites okay. It's pretty solid. See, already, I can already get it I can already shim it around. The reason is that these types of screws don't really bite that well. And kind of like, if you ever had to take it out for whatever reason, and then put it back in, it's kind of never the same after. Like, see, I've already stripped it. Like, that's the second time in, it's completely stripped, because we're on sheet metal. The sheet metal is extremely thin, so there's not enough, you can't really get, you get like 1 thread, maybe 1.5 on it. So now we've already ruined it. So to make this a good ground again, I have to relocate it to another spot, and we're starting to turn the car into Swiss cheese. Okay, now I'm going to show you another technique. I used to use this technique for years, and you're kind of like a B student if you do it this way. So to remove the paint, a lot of people don't have angle grinders, so you can buy a bit and you put this in your drill, and this does a really good job of cleaning off the paint. I just like that tool because it gets down the bare metal right away. So for the second technique, we're going to do it just like the first way, but how we're going to improve upon it is we're just going to put more screws into it. So I'm going to use this first hole here just to keep it in place. We know that it's too big, it doesn't work that well, but just so you can see what's going on. So we know the deficiencies with one screw. If you over tighten it, you strip it immediately, and it has the ability to rotate. So we're going to counter it by rotate it. We're going to stop by rotating by adding another screw in. I like to go right into the ring. And for good measure, what I see a lot of installers do is they add that third one. That one I went right on the side of. So yes, that's not going anywhere. Same problem if you were to undo it or over tighten it, you will strip it. Usually you don't have to take out the grounds, but that is technically correct. Like, it doesn't look pretty, but it works. Like, that's not moving. Okay, now I'm going to show you the best way I've learned how to do this, and it's probably one of the quickest ways too. So, but it requires more tools. First thing we're going to do is we're going to use this angle grinder here to take off the paint. Significantly faster and takes off the paint nice and clean. So now to do our connection, what we're going to use is this bolt. It's known as a positive grounding bolt. That's just the brand. Now the neat thing is the threads actually change. So the first bit is actually going to self-thread, and then it's going to secure itself. But you're going to see how cool this item is and how secure we get it. Taking this one step further, now the ring is going to be crimped on, should be crimped on properly with either a crimping tool. You can use a vise too, but you should try to use a crimping tool if you're in a shop. And then we're going to take it one step further and we're going to solder it as well. This gives us the best possible chance for having a good, secure connection. And to finish it off, we're going to add some shrink tube. Okay, now we're ready to put our badass grounding bolt in. So you've pre-drilled here. Make sure when you're pre-drilling your hole, you know what's underneath. Like there's not a gas tank, there's no wires, no lines or anything. So you pre-drilled your hole. You will need type of drill or impact that has some significant torque to it. But now, that's not going anywhere. And it looks really professional too, but the cool thing is I can take it out. And what it does is actually flares the metal so you get actually more surface area for the threads, so you get more contact area for your ground, and you can take this thing in and out. I wouldn't recommend doing it a lot, but you can. I flipped our sheet metal over just now so you can see what it looks like when these things go through. Now you see over here on our first one, this is the one single self-tapper that rotates quite a bit now afterwards. But you see the sheet metal is completely flat, so we are totally dependent on thickness of the sheet metal to get a good bite. Now here is our 3 self-tappers. This is the stamp piece, so it is flared out a bit, but this one isn't grabbing that much. But then you can see what's going on. So you got 3 through here. Like I said, it does work. Not the prettiest way, but it does work. Now coming over to the positive grounding bolt, this is what makes it work so well. You can see here it's actually flared out the metal a lot. So now we have that much more material to grab onto. But keep in mind, you see here I've used really short screws. Again, keep in mind, you have to know what's on the other side of what you're drilling into, or else you could make a costly mistake and you might be having to patch a gas tank or replace the whole thing. Now you're almost done, but what you have to do is you have to protect the connection because you've just taken away all the paint. So some vehicles, there is some moisture going on in certain areas, like you might not notice it. So we want to make sure that this is protected because to be honest, no one ever inspects these. Once it's in, it's in. So there's several ways, and I'll show you, the different ways of materials you can use. There's spray paint. Truck bed liner is really good because it's durable. The downside to those two is they're colored, so if you overspray, you're going to see it. So what I like to use is clear coat. So I'll show you all 3. So we're going to start with spray paint. They all apply the same. You can also get pastes and things like that. I just like to use paint because cars are painted and it works really well. Now don't worry, if you've done a good connection between the ring and the actual metal, it's tight and that's going to stay metal to metal. We're just covering everything else that's exposed so it doesn't continue to rust. Truck band's not good because it's not so runny, so it's not going to get in between anything. same effect. Clear coat, by far is my favorite, because you see here, I've already had overspray. So if you have a car that doesn't have a black interior, you're going to see that. So the clear coat looks the exact same, but if you get any overspray, you're not going to notice it. Hopefully today, guys, you learned something about how to ground your amplifier. To learn more about what we do, check out www.the12volters.ca.